What's going on, guys? Matt over at Empyre Fitness, and today we're gonna start going over the athlete program that we have uploaded to Trainerize so that you can start tapping into your athletic potential. So just an overview of what we're gonna go over today. It's an upper body day on weeks 4 through 8 of the athlete program. So realistically, everything's pretty much in the weight room on this program. There's a couple outside days that you can do on your own, but we're gonna be going over some introductory phases into athletic programming within the weight room. It's all pretty basic though. There's gonna be some simple plyometric variations followed by some simple weightlifting movements. All right, so remember, there's a lot of things that go into athlete programming, and a lot of it's on the field with your coaches and teammates. So we're gonna focus just in the weight room and get you going on that. But first, we gotta warm up. So let's go. Okay, so for the warm-up sequence, I keep it pretty simple. Basically, you're just gonna do 3 to 5 minutes of cardio of choice. That could be an easy jog, could be walking on the treadmill, could be rowing, whatever you wanna do. I like to do a salt bike just because it's gonna get a little bit of the lower and the upper mixed together. Just get the blood flowing throughout the body. That's what we're going for. You're not trying to be out of breath. You should be able to breathe through your nose the whole time, or have a conversation with the person next to you. It's really up to you. So we're just going nice and easy, getting the blood flowing. And the way the warm-up's gonna go from here is I'm gonna pick 3 movements and I'm gonna do 2 to 3 sets. And I'll guide you through those. We're just trying to open up the body pretty quick so that we can get into the gritty of the workout. Waste no time. So the first movement we're gonna do on the warm-up is called a yoga push-up. Not completely yoga style. Basically, it's just taking some popular yoga movements. We're gonna transition through them pretty quickly so that we can just help get the upper body warmed up. Basically, there's 2 popular poses in yoga. You got the cobra position, just helping get the abs stretched out, the core, and then the lower back, of course. You're gonna feel this. So that's part 1 of the yoga push-up. And then part 2, got our legs about shoulder width apart. We're gonna push our head through the shoulders, like so, and push our heels into the ground. And that's part 2. They call this downward dog. So basically, we're just gonna rotate through each of those movements in a push-up like fashion. And for this, I'm gonna do 10 reps total, and you can take as much time in each position as you want. I like to do right around 2 or 3 seconds. You can do this for upper body days like we are today, or you can do it for a lower body day today because you're gonna feel this through the posterior chain, calves, hamstrings, all that good stuff. And of course, okay, next movement on the warm-up is we're gonna try to get our thoracic spine just warmed up. Some of the movements we're gonna do here in a bit. Again, I'm gonna pair this with a lower body movement just because a lot of times for a warm-up, I just like to get the whole body moving. Especially in athletic movements, we're gonna be using the whole body a lot of times. So might as well just get used to it. Plus you might be sore from a lower body day, so you get a little bit of stretching, a little more bang for the buck. So basically I'm gonna be in a squat position. I'm not really worried about your squat right now. We're worried about the thoracic spine. Hand's gonna go inside the knee, elbow inside the knee, and I'm just gonna rotate up and try to bring my hand basically in line, or excuse me, my arm in line with my other arm, kind of making a T, sideways T here. And we're just gonna rotate side to side. And again, I'm gonna repeat this 10 times, holding for just a couple seconds, side to side, feeling this in my upper back. And over time, while we're talking about it, your squat should get better. You can always elevate your heels a little bit, but I'm not too worried about that today. Okay, and lastly, again, just focusing on the back region, getting the upper body all warmed up here. We're gonna do what's called a snow angel. So you're gonna basically lie, belly on the ground. We're going to put our hands in a cuff-like motion, okay? Or excuse me, in a cuff-like position. From here, you're going to lift your chest off the ground, kind of like if you're doing a Superman hold, but I'm not worried about the legs here. So bring your chest off the ground, rotate, try to keep your thumbs towards the ceiling. We're gonna go nice and slow and controlled, okay? Keeping our hands, our arms as high as we can. Bring them back into that cuff position, and back down. We're gonna repeat this 10 times. You're gonna wanna get into, you're gonna wanna go fast. So make sure you're deliberate with this and slow it down. You're gonna feel this in your rear delt, so the shoulder region, and of course, lifting our chest off the ground, we're gonna feel this in the back as well. So make sure you're breathing through the entirety of the movement. This one will get you sweating. Boom. So for the warm-up, like I said, repeat 2 to 3 times. On a good day where you're feeling nice and limber, not too sore, just do it twice. Get right to the workout. Because there's gonna be warm-up sets in all these movements anyways, so you gotta remember that. That's part of the warm-up too. We're just trying to make sure our body's primed and ready to, just work optimally so that we're doing, the most load we can, the most force we can, power, all that good stuff. Basically move like an athlete. If you're a little bit sore, just go through it 3 times. Just do it based on how you feel for the day. All right, now time to get to the nitty-gritty. Let's go to the weight room. After the warm-up's done, the way I like to program this athlete program is we're always gonna start off with some sort of a plyometric, and I'll show you that. After that, if we have some sort of a power movement, for an upper body, maybe it's a push press or something of that sort, we're gonna go right into that, right? These things that are gonna be fast twitch. So I'll always start with some sort of a plyometric, right? Like today we might do an explosive push-up. We're gonna do some med ball work. After that, I'm gonna go into some sort of a power movement if I have it on the program. Basically the things that are gonna use our fast twitch muscles, right? We're firing, we're being explosive. I'm gonna do those right at the beginning when we're nice and fresh. After that, we'll go into our strength work. Obviously the compound movements, like your squat, your bench press, all that good stuff, just because those are gonna also tax our system the most, and then the accessory movements. So that's pretty much the outline for any day, whether it's upper body or lower body. With that being said, we have a tricep to start this off, kind of mixing all of them together, but we're gonna start off with some med ball work. So hopefully you're at some sort of athletic training facility where they have pads against the wall. If you are just gonna, slam a med ball against the wall, make sure that the wall is reinforced and that it's actually made for that. Here at Empyre, we don't have any walls made for that, right? So we're gonna set up a makeshift station. I'm basically just going to use a box because we're gonna be in a kneeling position and I'm not gonna hurt anything. Okay, a couple of different kinds of med balls. If you're at a traditional gym, you're probably gonna have more like this, okay? This is obviously your traditional Rogue med ball, but we also have what are called slam balls. And the reason I like to use a slam ball is because they die basically on impact. So if I throw this against the pole here, it's just gonna die, whereas this is gonna have more bounce to it. So for a lot of these med ball movements with the upper body, I just like it to die on impact. Okay, so after toying around, we have our setup here again. Make sure you're not gonna throw a med ball through a wall at your gym. That wouldn't look too good on your part. So I just have like one of the boxes stacked up against it, just something to absorb the impact. Have one of our slam balls here, so it's gonna die on impact as well. Basically, you're gonna set up in a nice half kneeling position, okay? When we have the med ball, our thumbs are gonna stay up throughout the movement, and basically we're gonna lean back just a little bit, nothing too crazy, so I don't want you actually bending your knees or anything like that other than where they're already bent. Just lean back a little bit, and then we're going to push the med ball through the wall into the box, of course, and finish through, okay? So as hard as you can. Here we go. Bring it back. For each side, so basically I'll do 4 with the right leg up, hit, okay? Switch arms, do the same thing, or switch legs, do the same thing. Okay, remember this is a tri-set. So we're gonna go from here, half kneeling med ball chest pass. We're gonna go into a kettlebell pull through, and then we're gonna finish off with a pull up, all right? Some posterior tilt, so basically they're sticking their butt out the whole time when they're in that plank position. I want you to rotate that pelvis down like you're trying to squeeze your lower abs. So I'm rotating the pelvis down like you're squeezing your glutes. So from here to here, squeeze the abs, and that's gonna help with core stability. It seems funky, but it works. Okay, so for the kettlebell pull through, after you do the med ball chest pass, you're gonna come over here. Nice slow walk, about 30-second rest in between exercises. Kettlebell pull through. What we're trying to do here is we're gonna be in a high plank position or a push-up position, whatever you wanna call it, all right? And we're basically gonna be pulling a kettlebell through to each arm, and then setting that arm down and reversing the movement. What I'm trying to emphasize here is you want to have core stability. Okay, you're gonna use that in sports a lot as well, especially when people are trying to move you on the court, field, whatever it might be. You wanna have some core stability to protect, you at all times, okay? So for this, what you wanna do is you want to manage your hip rotation. So what you're gonna wanna do when you pull the kettlebell through is you're gonna rotate the hips each way. See how my hips are rotating back and forth? Just kind of on demand without even thinking about it. So what we wanna do, and what my coaching cue would be, is if you were here in person, is to stop that core rotation. So get a nice wide stance with the legs, and basically you wanna manage that core, that hip rotation, and keep everything as still as possible. So basically I'm staying still as much as possible. There might be a slight shift, but overall, it should be pretty minimalized and should get better over the course of the weeks. If you've already done week 1 through 4 of the athlete program, then you should have already started on this with some shoulder taps and all that good stuff. Okay, so after you do your kettlebell pull throughs, got a little bit of core work, you're then gonna make it over to the pull-up bar. Pull-ups are a little bit different in this phase of the program. So I don't know how many pull-ups you can do. You might be able to do 20 in a row, you might be able to do 3, okay? So basically each week you're just gonna have an amount of pull-ups I want you to get to over the course of however many sets it takes you. Obviously you're trying to do that in as few sets as possible. We're just trying to accumulate the volume overall. So for today, I'm just trying to get 20 pull-ups in as few sets as possible. So maybe you do 3 sets of the med ball chest pass and the kettlebell pull throughs and you're still not done. We need to finish up those pull-ups, whether it takes you 2 more sets, 3 more sets, whatever applies to you. Ooh. Make sure you're going all the way down each rep. I don't want to see any half bends. Okay, that's cheating. All the way down, head through at the bottom. Make sure you're doing a nice, solid, strict pull-up. So now that we got a nice pump, we've done our, our explosive movements for the most part, our plyometrics. Now we're moving on. We're nice and primed for the bench press. So this is gonna be your favorite day. Okay, the way the rep schemes work on this, keeping it pretty basic, especially if you're doing this on your own with a friend or anything. I'm not prescribing percentages on the compound lifts. So for example, today it's 3 sets of 7, and then in the successive weeks it's gonna change. Like 4 sets of 6 might be the next one, or 4 sets of 5, 5 sets of 5. There's all these different movements. The rep schemes are gonna be pretty low for the compound lifts, but there's no prescribed percentages, all right? So the way to do that is obviously when the reps go down, the load should go up, all right? So that's just how you have to look at it. Obviously everything should be done with nice, good technical form. But as far as like how heavy you should go, there should always be a couple reps left in the tank, especially since this is just week 4 through 8, of an athlete program. You have all the time in the world to max out down the line. So don't be trying to max out every time and do like the most you can do at 6 reps or 7 reps. All right, so I always have like 2 to 3 reps, maybe 3 to 4 reps left in the tank. All right, let's get warmed up. Okay, for the reps. So as far as tempo goes, obviously, if you're an athlete, most of the things you're gonna do are explosive. Okay, so when we're coming down, we wanna control that, the eccentric portion, when we're lowering the bar to our chest. Let's control that right around 2 seconds, so when we hit that chest, you wanna explode up. Don't bounce it off your chest or anything like that, but you wanna be explosive when you're actually pushing the weight off your chest in the concentric portion of the movement. The way I teach setup with my athletes is it's not quite, we're not in a powerlifting meet. We're not trying to get up as much weight as possible. Well, I guess you are in a way, but like, I don't want a huge arc in your back, trying to limit the range of motion. Okay, just get a nice, good setup. I don't want your back completely flat. I don't want your legs, completely stagnant, right? We're gonna use the full body, because in athletics, you're gonna use your full body in most of the things you do. But as far as arm placement, I'm usually not completely wide, okay? The way I like to teach it is, so I heard this from a no name in the fitness industry. It's like, where would you punch at? That's kind of where your width would be, okay? So not too wide, you wouldn't punch way out here. You'd be right in that shoulder width range. So kind of figure that out, and that's where I go with it. Okay, also another thing is make sure you're not death gripping that with your wrist, right? Thumbs over the bar, and then try to keep your wrist straight. Again, with the punch analogy, right? Punch straight up, okay? You wanna keep that wrist locked in place. All right, you can use wrist wraps if you want, but just make sure we're not bending that too far back. Good. Okay, right after the bench press, again, another 30 seconds rest or so. Going into that tricep, we're gonna do a banded face pull. One key point here, especially in the first 8 weeks of the athlete program, you're in your off seasons early. For athletes and really anyone in general, learning in the weight room, move the weight well before anything else. The strength will come later. So as an athlete, it's how you move. All right, so don't be afraid to take weight off the bar, move it well first, and then start loading it, therefore after. Okay, we're gonna do a pin lay row. Big difference here is pin lay rows are dead stuffed on the ground, whereas a barbell row, you don't hit the ground, okay? Here we go. 10 reps. End of the row, we're gonna go palms away from us, okay? One coaching cue that I wanna emphasize here is a lot of people, they think that they have to touch the bar with the chest, and this gets a little bit dangerous, especially when you get tired, because people are gonna arch to try to touch the bar to the chest when they don't have the strength to complete another rep. Coaching cue here is to drive the elbows back and to squeeze the back muscles, because that's what we're working ultimately here. Okay, if you can't make it to the bar completely, that's gonna be just fine. Okay, so right now I'm touching the bar, that's okay, but as I get tired, if I can only get to here, then I can only get to there. I wanna keep technically sound movement, all right? As far as like regressions here, that's a little bit too difficult. You can always bend your knees. That's gonna make it a little bit more easy, okay? And if that's still too difficult, maybe you're just beginning, you know, a newbie to the weight room, that's okay. Just move the bar up and down. That's why I like to use a Smith machine. You can also use TRX, that works too. Or you can even connect a bar, but like use a bar on a rack. Just make sure you're not pulling, you're pulling into the rack, not away from it, okay? Well, the higher it is, the easier it is. Kind of like a wall push-up is how I would explain that one, all right? Okay, directly after the inverted row, we're gonna do a little bit of core. We're gonna do a hollow hold. I'm gonna give you a couple different variations to do. So the one, I'll turn around here so you can see. Basically the big thing here is your legs are gonna be in the air, knees extended like this. And to balance yourself, you're gonna lean back, flat back, and use the arms to balance out. Parallel with the legs. Squeezing the abs the whole time. The other way to do this, okay? Just bring your arms behind your head like this. Same thing, feet are in the air. And I'm gonna get the shoulder blades off the ground. Third movement on this tricep. It's a pike push-up. You've probably heard of a handstand push-up. Not everybody can do a handstand push-up. This is basically the regressed version of that. Looks a little funky, but it's super effective if you do it correctly. So basically you're gonna bring your feet up on a box or a bench of some sort. You basically gotta lift your butt in the air. I know this seems funky, okay? And it's just a shoulder push-up from here. So you're going to press your head down to the ground, okay? And then you're gonna push through the shoulder blades, Okay, just kind of like the yoga push-up earlier, or if you're doing an overhead press, and obviously the more upright you are, the more difficult it is. If that's too easy, you can do a handstand push-up on a wall, and obviously we'll progress this in the coming weeks in the program. Boom, 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 that's a wrap, okay? That's one of the upper body workouts in the athlete program. Remember, a lot of these things are basic, but we're trying to build that big foundation so that, you know, whatever your next program is, after you do the athlete program, you have that foundation built so that your ceiling is that much higher. Make sure to re-rack your weights and go eat something, go recover, all right? We'll see you guys next time for the athlete program here at Empyre Fitness.